Hey friends, it's Len here at 1A Auto. Today I'm working on a 2007 Hyundai Elantra. I'm going to show you how to do rear calipers. It's going to be a very easy job. I want to be the guy that shows you how to do it. If you need this part or any other part, you can always check us out at 1aauto.com. Thanks. Now it's time to loosen these up, okay? 21 millimeter. We got our long ratchet here. I've got the majority of the weight of the vehicle off the ground. It's just barely touching, so I can remove the lug nuts or at least break them free without spinning the wheel, okay? Just gonna give it a quick crank. I'm not gonna loosen it up all the way. Last lug nut, I'm holding the wheel. Take off our hubcap. Now we're gonna carefully take the wheel down, lower it to the ground, and we'll put it safely out of the way. So one of the first things I wanna do when I'm gonna replace this caliper is I'm gonna break this banjo bolt free, okay? I'm just gonna break it free, then I'm gonna go ahead and snug it back up, not too tight, but enough so it's not leaking. I'm using a 12 millimeter. There we are. Fluid's starting to come out. I know it's good to go. Next, what I like to do is I'm gonna take off this bolt right here and this bolt right here. I'm gonna use a 14 millimeter. Some people will tell you that you don't necessarily have to take off the caliper from the bracket if you're just gonna be replacing it anyway. But I'm going to show you why I'm doing this on this particular vehicle. So, let me break this free. These are both the same. Not that it matters, we're replacing them anyway. Let's see if we can get this off. Use something like this, a small pry bar. Try to wedge it in here somewhere. Try to get this caliper off. There we are. If we weren't replacing the caliper, even though we are, I would always look along here. This is the piston. This is the piston boot. You want to see if there's fluid coming out of there, okay? We're replacing this, so it doesn't really matter. But if you weren't, you would check. If there is fluid coming out, then you'd need to replace it. In which case, you just go on 1aauto.com, right? Anyway, so now we've got our pads. Pads are nice and frozen in there. Those are not going to come out on their own. Okay, so the reason why I took the caliper off of the bracket is because I wanted to show you, you've got one caliper bracket bolt right here, okay? It's just a 14 millimeter head. The other one is located behind this arm. So we'd have to take off this bolt with the nut, take it out of here, get this arm out of the way to get to it. Or you could try to use something like a wrench, just try to get it in between there somehow magically and weasel it out. That's completely up to you. Me personally, I'm just gonna try to take off this bolt. There's a nut on the back side. We'll do it that way, and then we'll have clear access to get to that bolt. So right here, we have a 17 millimeter head bolt. It goes through from the rear to the front, and there's a nut on the back side, which is also a 17 millimeter. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have my wrench on the nut side, and then I'm gonna blast this side with my air gun with a 17 millimeter. You can use a ratchet, you can use a wrench, whatever you need to do to get it off. 17, 17. Safety glasses, hand protection. There's our nut. Get my gun off of here. There it is. See if I can get our bolt out of here. There's our bolt. Nice. All right, let's see if this arm will move. Watch your eyes. Perfect. So now we have a clear view of our 14 millimeter bolt right there. That was easy peasy. And another 14 right here. We'll take both of these out and we'll move along. So I'm gonna remove the lower one here using my 14 millimeter and my ratchet with a short extension. I get this one almost all the way out, so I'm gonna leave it in just a little bit, just like that. Now I'm gonna remove the other one, and that'll help prevent the bracket from falling out. Oh, yeah. One bracket bolt. See if this one's ready to come out by hand. Feels like a no. I'm gonna hold the bracket so it can't fall down and hurt me. Bolt number 2, same as bolt number 1. We don't have to worry about mixing those up. Caliper bracket It's nice and stuck on that rotor due to those pads being frozen in there. There's our bracket. So now it's time to get this caliper off of here, right? We've got our brake hose. This is our banjo bolt, which holds the brake hose to the caliper itself. I'm just gonna take some little hose crimpers here. That's just gonna keep the gravity from pulling the brake fluid down and out this hose. You might still get a couple drips, but at least it's not gonna be a lot of drips. The drips that we are gonna have, it would be great if you had some sort of recycling receptacle that you can catch your fluid into. You know, save the unicorns and Sasquatch and all those guys that, you know, may or may not exist. But anyway, penguins. We'll say save the penguins and the dolphins. It's almost ready. And the Loch Ness Monster. There's our banjo bolt. Now I'm going to carefully try to wiggle this. It might splash fluid, so make sure you're wearing gloves and eye protection. There we are. This is our brake hose. A lot of times what you'll notice is there'll be a copper gasket stuck on here, like this copper gasket right there. That might be stuck on either this side or this side because there should be a gasket on both sides. If there is, you need to make sure you get that off before you go ahead and put your new one on, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this aside. So let's go ahead and get these pads out of here. I'm just gonna use a hammer and I'm gonna try to bonk them out, okay? Bonk, bonk. That's my thing. There we are. It's the inner pad. This one. I'm hitting on the metal side of it, not on the meat side of it, obviously. I don't want to damage that. And there we are. Those are out. So on your pad, along the edge right here, there, and right there, okay, 3 edges, that's where your caliper bracket is going to be sitting, or your pad's going to be sitting inside the bracket, right? Same thing on this side. So what we want to do is just clean it up. Looks pretty good in comparison to that one. Do the same to this side. There we are. Now you can take a sanding block if you wanted to and scuff this up. Do whatever you had to do if that's what you wanted to do. It's completely up to you. It's your prerogative. If you were, you know, these are going back on the old rotors. You don't really necessarily have to worry about that so much. You know, you definitely want to clean them up either way though. Okay, if you're reusing them, just clean up along those edges so they can flow freely inside those brackets. I'm gonna do the same to the other pads and we'll move along. Okay, so I just want to show you real quick, something to pay attention to is where your bleeder screw is located on your caliper. If you notice that your bleeder screw on your new caliper is over here in comparison to where this one is, well, you just have the caliper for the wrong side of the vehicle. Should be easy peasy, assuming you bought 2, right? All you do is just go over, grab your other one, bring it over, boom, should match right up. If it doesn't, well, somebody might have boxed it wrong. Stuff happens, it's life, human error, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so to continue, we're just gonna match up our calipers, make sure that everything seems like it's about the same size. The brackets themselves, oops, turn it, here we go. The brackets themselves are the same length, just like this, side to side, okay? That seems pretty decent. You got it matched up the same height. Your new one isn't kind of up this high, right? That would make it obviously the wrong bracket for this particular vehicle. So as you can tell, this looks really good. Let's go ahead and get it going. Let's get our new caliper all prepped up and ready to go. I'm going to take out this bolt right here. It's just a caliper to the bracket bolt. Take that one out. They're both the same. You don't have to worry about mixing them up. Here's the muscle of the brake, right? Muscle. When you step on your brake pedal, forces fluid down the line, comes through here, fills this up with fluid, and squeezes your piston and your pad up against the rotor, okay? That's how you stop with friction. So this is the muscle, and this is what holds the muscle where it needs to be, the bracket. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take out the slider, take out the other slider. They're both the same. Sometimes you'll see them, they'll have a little rubber on there. These look the exact same. I like to just put a little extra lube. You know, sometimes in the assembly line, maybe the machine or person that was doing it was having kind of a lazy day and they didn't put on as much as maybe I like to have in there. I like to make sure these puppies can move around for days or months or even years, right? Really. Preferably years. So I just put on a little extra lube. Why not? This is just caliper lube. You can use something like silicone paste if you wanted to or whatever. This is what I have access to, so this is what I'm using. And it is black, it's not just dirty. I don't know. I just want to make sure that I mention that. I'm not using dirty grease. So I wanted to make sure that the grease came up along this lip up here. So that way there I can make sure that no water is going to make its way in between there. Our calipers came with new tins. That's always a special treat. That means we don't have to try to reuse our old tins from our other brackets. Let's see if I can get them apart real quick here. That's what it looks like. Okay? All that's going to do is sit right on here. It's going to go like this. But before you put it on there, I want to show you that you're going to put a little bit more of that caliper grease right along here. The reason for that is so when you're driving in puddles or, you know, anything really, moisture gets in there. What does moisture do to metal? Makes it rust. Rust starts to flake and swell, and then of course you're going to have your pads stuck in your brackets again. It's going to be a real issue, and I don't want to deal with that. So I just put a little bit of caliper lube on there. Now I'm going to take my tin and see if I can get it in here. Squeeze it. There's little prongs right here. Okay? What I'm going to do with those prongs is I'm just trying to put them inside that slot right there. Prongs, slot, line it up, and squeeze it in. There we are. It's important to note that you don't want to use any lube on the outside of these tins where the pads are going to be riding. All that's going to happen at that point is you'll collect dust and debris and everything in between there, and then you know, it's going to cause sticking and everything in the long run. So, you know, if you're putting on new pads, you definitely don't want to put any type of lubricant there. Now we're going to move on to the muscle. I'm going to go right on this little forky end here, right on the other end, and then I like to go right directly on the piston, right there. Some people will say, oh, you just lube the whole backside of the pad. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you put it all over the whole backside of the pad when this is the only part that actually touches, right? So all you're doing is wasting grease, and you're creating more of an area for your pad to collect, you know, debris and gunk and all that. So if you're reusing your pads, right, you didn't get new ones for some reason, you're only replacing the caliper, you'd have your old pads. The one with the squealer on here, this is called a squealer, so when your pad gets down to a certain level, about 230 seconds, this little piece of metal will start hitting your rotor. It'll start making a when you're driving. That's how you know, hey, it's time to pull over and get some brakes done. All you do is you just slide it in here, slide it in there. The squealer goes on the inner pad, okay? And that would be the side facing down as well. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same to the outer pad. Get it situated in there, just like that, okay? We can take our caliper, slide it right over like this. And then at this point, you can go ahead and tighten these down if you wanted to. I prefer to actually leave this apart until I get it mounted on the vehicle, okay? So all I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna bring this over to the vehicle, and I'll get it mounted on the vehicle, and I'll show you how to go from there. So now it's time to get our bracket mounted on. We've got our 2 caliper bracket mounting bolts, right? If you wanted to, you could use a little bit of thread locker. It's never a bad idea to use some of that. You definitely don't want to use never sees. People have been known to do that, and well, while that's their prerogative, I would not recommend using never sees because that just makes it so things can come loose easier. Do we want our brakes coming loose easy? I don't. So now I'm going to go ahead and tighten those down. I'm just going to snug them, and then I'm going to torque them using my 14. Snug. Let's grab the torque spec for these, and we'll move along. So it's time to torque these down. The caliper bolts to the knuckle, are 43 foot-pounds. 43. I'm using my 14 millimeter. There's one. Here we are. Just gonna hit it again. This one. There we are. I'd always rather have them a little bit over torqued than under torqued, so at least do 43. So now it's time to get the muscle on here, right? We've got our bleeder screw. It's gonna be facing up when we mount this on. You don't want it down here, okay? We already checked it, it's up. That's where it's gonna be. We have our brand new bolts. Go ahead and put that in there. This one. You can use a little bit of thread locker if you want. It's your prerogative. Get these bottomed out, and I'm going to torque them down to 23 foot-pounds with my 14 millimeter socket. There we are. When I try to turn this, the slider is spinning as well. So all I want to do is just hold that. You can use whatever you need to do that. Pliers, a wrench. There we are. We'll do the same thing to the top. That's spinning as well. Just hold it. All right, just gonna hit it again. Do this one. Still spinning. Get my pliers on here. There we are. Let's move along to our flex hose. This is our flex hose. We want to make sure that it's not cracked or split or leaking anywhere, of course. We already checked to make sure that we don't have our little copper gaskets on there. I'll show you what they look like. That's what they look like right there. If you see copper on this, take it off, okay? So we've got 2 copper gaskets. We've got our banjo bolt. You want to pay special attention. Make sure there isn't a copper gasket still stuck on that. If you leave that old gasket on there, it's going to do something called double gasketing. You'll have a leak. Brakes are very high pressure, so you want to make sure that you don't have double gaskets on there. I'm just going to clean this off. I got my gloves, safety glasses, of course. Take a look at it. Looks good. I've got 2 gaskets. One's gonna go on this side. I'm gonna go through my hose, and then I'm gonna put this on it again, and that's gonna go between the hose and the caliper itself. So I got my banjo bolt, put it through my hose, put my other copper gasket. Now I'm gonna bring this down, get it started in here. There we are. I'm going to tighten that up with a 12 millimeter. I want to go till it bottoms out and just give it a little more. Maybe I don't know, an 1/8 or even a 1/4 turn, but probably an 1/8. Right about there. That feels pretty great. We don't need to go much tighter than that. All we want to do is make sure that we crush down those copper gaskets a little bit, and that's going to make the seal. Take this off, inspect your hose, make sure it's not doing a whole bunch of little curly cues, U's or anything like that. If you did, you probably just twisted the caliper around or something. So if it's not a nice, even, smooth little bend like that, just take it back off and spin it around, okay? Because those little cues, that's going to cause issues down the line. So now we've got our bolt. That's going to go right through here, right? Goes through the knuckle, through this arm, through the other side of the knuckle, and then we've got our nut. 17, 17. I'm just going to line this up, use my handy dandy hammer. Looks like it's pretty close. Take this, see if I can get enough swing. There we are. I've got my nut. You can use some thread locker if you like. There it is. Okay, here we go. 17 on both sides. Use a ratchet, use a wrench, use an air gun. You do you, boo-boo. I'm gonna use a wrench on the back side here. I'm gonna use my air gun on the forward side, or I guess rearward side, because it's the rear of the vehicle. Nice and tight. Now that we've got that tight, we've got these torqued, now we can go ahead and bleed this. The way that we're gonna wanna bleed this is we're gonna open up this bleeder screw. We'll let air trickle out a little bit, okay? Till there's no more air, it's kind of, doing a solid trickle. I'm gonna close it back up. I'm gonna go up inside the vehicle. I'm gonna pump up the brakes 3 to 5 times, okay? Nice and slow. That's gonna let this push its way out. It's gonna let all the air make its way up to the bleeder screw. I'm gonna double check the fluid inside the reservoir, make sure it's full. And then I'll come back here and I'll break this free again, okay? I'll watch more air come out, little air bubbles. I'll watch fluid come out. I'm gonna wait till there's a solid stream, close it up. At that point, you're clear to do a full bleed if you wanted to. It's always a good habit. If you have an extra person, you can have them get up inside the vehicle and do a bleed with you. You can watch the bleed sequence on one of our videos. We also sell a special tool that makes it so you can bleed the brakes on your own. So next step, essentially, like I said, would be to bleed your brakes. All right, so here we go. Good job, everybody. All right, it's time to get the wheel up on here. We've got our lug nuts close. We've got our hubcap. I'm just gonna take it, roll it up my leg here. Get it on there. Take my hubcap. We've got our little slot right there where our valve stem goes through. Get one lug nut on while I'm still holding it. Make sure it's on there good. There we go, the wheel can't fall off. Now I'm gonna grab the others. 21 millimeter. I'm just gonna bottom these out. You can use an air gun if you have access to it. All right, I wanna make sure that we do this in a star pattern so the wheel won't get kinked on like this. If I tighten this one up and then this one, the wheel might be sitting like this. I might think I have these tightened down. Really, they're not, right? I mean, it's pretty obvious. So we'll get it close. We'll come down here. Air gun would make short work of this. Time to torque this down. 21 millimeter star pattern. We're gonna go 80 foot-pounds. Let's go ahead and go around in a circle here now.
Thanks for watching. Visit 1aauto.com for quality auto parts shipped to your door, the place for DIY auto repair. And if you enjoyed this video, please click the subscribe button.